Hello everyone, Karen Glasser here, and welcome to this episode of The Passion Point. This is the show where we interview Passionistas from around the world who are following their passion and making a living doing what they love. And today is no exception. We have the amazing Nancy Ferrari with us today. She's the host of her own radio show, aptly called The Nancy Ferrari Show, on W4CY Radio, which she has been hosting for over 4 years, and she focuses on sharing what's right in the world and features guest experts who are making a difference. Nancy is a passionate speaker, author, and contributing writer for numerous online publications. She shares her message of inspiration and living an empowered life. She's also the co-author of several books, including the soon-to-be-released Loving with No Boundaries. She's passionate about being a member of the board on Little Light Project, and she shares her expertise with sensitive and intuitive children. I just love what you do, Nancy, and I just would like to welcome you into the Passion Point. How are you today?
I'm great. I'm great. I'm so excited this is my very first interview, per se, or I love to just say conversation, in this format. And as I am always talking about the power of connection, this is even closer. So, and here I'm talking with my hands. Now people are going to see how I am when I host my radio show. I get quite animated here. But I want to share something with you, and this we'll expand on this later. For those who don't know me, one of the aspects of being a visionary is that I facilitate vision board sessions, but I also create my own. And on there, and this is what manifests, is that I've got a strip of words that says lights, camera, action. And here we are. So thank you for having me on your show. We've been wanting to do this for a long time, so I'm happy to be here with you.
Oh, well, I'm happy that we are your first. Then this is very, very cool. And again, you know, you've done radio for a very long time, so this is just another dimension. And I think it's great that people are going to see you live, because I talk with my hands too. If you've noticed, I think it's. I normally walk and talk with my hands. So I always have to make a point of sitting in my chair and not move.
I think that's part of our expression, and as I'm doing right now too. But just to tease my husband here, you know, he's Italian, so they're all very, very animated as they are, and I love them for that. So
absolutely. So today we're going to be talking about passion. We're going to be talking about what it is, how do you manifest it, how do you find it, and more specifically, how did Nancy Ferrari found her passion, and how did her journey take her to where she is today? And I'm looking in the camera, and I can see my doggie is sitting there right behind me saying,
I'm smiling.
Am I going to be on the television today? Maybe. Yeah. You never know. So
mine isn't.
We like to start our show with the definition of passion, and who better to get a definition from than Webster Dictionary. So Webster Dictionary says that passion is an intense driving or overmastering feeling or conviction. That's what Webster says. What does Nancy say? What's passion to you?
There's one word that popped out, is feeling, because passion is what lies within. And as I had just been interviewed earlier today about that, where I have taken myself as an adult is to when I was born. Now we don't have baby memories, but what I know is that I have taken myself to that place to discover the passion is really within my voice, to share messages of inspiration, share them with others, so they too can experience, you know, living in their true calling, being so passionate that when they wake up, to welcome the world to, you know, whatever is going to show up. Every day for me is that place now, and it's so great.
Yeah,
it's
that's
so great.
And
we've all had that job that paid the bills and needed to do so. It was as we were raising our 3 children, but that was not a passion. It was a paycheck. And I made the best of it. I draw upon 20 years of legal experience. However, what I'm doing now is something I'm very, very passionate about.
Well, it's funny you say that. We've heard that expression, do you work to live or do you live to work? What's your answer? Do you work to live or live to work?
I don't even call this work. I really don't. I am living in my true purpose and my true passion, and from there I really don't define it. However, if we're going to get into the business aspect of it, yes, I'm. That's a very fascinating question. I don't usually get stumped because I'm sitting here thinking, is it one way or the other? I think it's just, meshed together. It depends on if I'm going into my left brain, or I'm in, focus on my business, or my right brain of creative flow, of my radio shows, of working with women, whatever have you. I live to live my life, and however that shows up.
So you've been doing this for quite a while. Let's just kind of go back into Nancy's life. Let's take it maybe not all the way back when you were just born, but let's talk about how this whole journey that you started on. Where did you start, and how did you end up here? How did you end up with a radio show and touching so many women? I mean, I know we've had the opportunity to meet and chat, and I know a little bit about your journey. Let's share with our listeners, how did you get from here to where you are now on this part of your journey?
It's what I'm, quote unquote, now a life transition expert within our connection through Lessons from Network. It was after I chose, and I made the conscious decision after our youngest child went off to college. Okay, this job is no longer, serving me. I know there's more out there. And for all the people who are asking themselves, now what? Who actually then go, who am I and what am I really here to do? I started seeking and searching and discovered that sales weren't really my thing. There's so many products out there, and I would be attracted to some that I could personally say that I believe in it, but there again, selling wasn't in my wheelhouse. It wasn't the comfort zone. So, but there's always a gift in everything. This is what I'm very, very intentional on sharing. It was through what I was posting out there on social media, the benefits of drinking alkaline water, how to be more healthy, this and that someone asked me to be on a radio show. This was 4 years ago in April, and it just really wasn't what I envisioned the experience. And afterwards, I said, you know what, I could do this. And drawing upon my major of journalism and communication, and the fact that my kids said, Mom, you could make a tree talk. You're just, do what makes you happy. And I remind them of it when they say, oh my God, Mom, you're so doing this and this and this. And I said, well, you guys are the ones who gave me the permission. Go ahead. And yes, I had my learning curve of navigating through Blog Talk Radio, and then all of a sudden it just started to flow, and guests were coming my way through referrals, through other sources, and from there I got the opportunity to do my show live in a studio, which was actually manifested my very first vision board, because Blog Talk is by phone, and for me to put a microphone and says live on air, that I was already setting the intention for that, never knowing how, when it was going to show up. That was a great experience because it was, you feel the energy being in studio, and but a year later it just wasn't the right fit. But right before I said I'm moving on, this opportunity within this network showed up. So it's been just this amazing, I just say an ascension of one step at a time, and not putting too much force into it, and developing relationships with not only radio show guests that I've had, but they're publicists who really get me and what it is that I want to share I call myself a conduit for them, their message, the transfer of energy so that my listeners can also learn what they are putting out in the world.
So what is this show that you're doing now, the one that you've been doing now for 4 years in iHeartRadio? What exactly is the idea of the show, and what kind of guests come on, and why would somebody want to listen to you other than you are totally fascinating, and I love listening to you, but what are people looking for when they find you?
You know what, when you were asking me earlier, clarity is such an important element that comes within your passion. When you're clear on what it is. In the beginning, I wasn't. I wanted to have a show that would allow people to be in their comfort zone to share what they do. For me, it's about sharing people who have lived their life as they were, just kind of going on autopilot. Very, not always similar, but somewhat similar. And because some of the work that they do, like Julia Cameron, who wrote The Artist's Way, that was just a phenomenal experience to talk with her, and why she wrote The Artist's Way for parents, because she sees the need for it. And so it's all about inspiring the listeners that there is an abundance of infinite possibilities waiting for them. That when we think small, that's how our world is. When I do this a lot, and I do this a lot on my radio show too, that there is so much out there to experience, and when you can share that with someone who's feeling somewhat like there just isn't anything out there for me, it is my intention that whoever I have on my show sharing their transformation, what they're doing, some acclaimed authors who have a closet full of books that no one would even read, and now all of a sudden they're New York Times bestsellers, and they don't have to be. And someone once told me, "Oh, I should interview celebrities," and I said, "Why?" Because they're well known. Well, they're already well known. There are a plethora of people out there who are here to share their story and how we can relate to it. So it's all about being real. Together we share what's real, relevant, and relatable.
Yeah, so and I love that. I love what you're saying, Nancy, because really at the end of the day, you're approachable, and your guests are approachable. And I understand when people say, well, why don't you interview celebrities? Well, you know what? Celebrities they're not us. And we don't really relate to that, other than maybe there's a desire to be, rich or doing something that a celebrity is doing. I'm watching my hands all over the place. But more in terms of just the people that are actually making a difference, and we can actually connect and make a real distinction as to, oh, I really relate to what that person is saying. So I'm sure you're getting that kind of thing when you got real people on that are sharing their stories, right?
Exactly. And for me, when I listen to a show, if there's a takeaway, then I know that there is value. I want to provide value to people, because we don't often get to connect or hear the voice behind someone who has either created an amazing coaching program, or is an author, or is well versed within what they do with health and wellness. That's why I love live shows. That's why this is fascinating for me to be seeing you, and that I feel really almost a more sense of an immersion with you. And that's my goal, is to take this to possibly a stage. Someone once gave me a divine compliment that I remind them of Oprah, in the sense that I just create a very comfortable place for them to, once you're comfortable, then that's when the real and authentic you comes forth.
Absolutely. That's when the magic happens. And I
Right.
think when people feel comfortable and their authenticity comes out, they feel like, okay, I can be vulnerable. And I don't know
Mhm.
about you, that's been one of the hardest things that I have had to tackle as an individual is
Mhm.
being vulnerable because I tend to, you're on radio, I'm on internet television, I do some podcasts as well. People tend to think that people like us are different. And we're not. We're not. We're just like everybody else. I think, but the reality is, unless you start being vulnerable with your community,
Mhm.
that's why they don't think that you're like everybody else. How do you feel about being vulnerable?
Just like what you said. I mean, my generation was children should be seen and not heard. Well, I had a message. I came into the world with a big message. My mom even said I was literally laughing at 2 months old. I'm like, well, I must have been drawing upon something from another life to be doing that. But yeah, now that I went back in time, I wanted to answer your question.
Vulnerable.
Being vulnerable, yes, we were. That wasn't in. That was. You don't brag about yourself. You don't share your dirty laundry, this and that. But when I feel it's appropriate, and there again, someone made an assumption, which I am all about, the four agreements,
Yes.
and that, uh, Nancy, you possibly couldn't know what it's like to struggle. I'm like, really? Yeah, just because I came here well groomed, because you go to a studio, you want to look your best, and then you feel more confident and all that. But I'm still me. I'm still me in here. Give me the opportunity to share that with you. Now, what I'm going to share with you is that I do know what it's like to be in a space of, you know, how shall I say this? Because my parents were born in Finland, I had that World War II mentality surrounding me of scarcity, and that, we value everything. We don't even throw away plastic bags and this and that. So I feel that I'm very relatable, and that if someone's talking about, you know someone losing a job or possibly having to leave the country because of something, I've been in that space. I can say I understand.
So you've been doing this show for 4 years, and then recently you got involved with a nonprofit organization called Little Light Project. Can you tell us a little bit about this and why it touches your heart so much, and what you're doing with them, and maybe how others might want to get involved?
I would love to. We just had our board meeting last night, and I had the privilege of being introduced to Kirsten Hathcock, who actually, her friend was is a woman who lives here in Southern California, and I interviewed her. She was on Shark Tank. I actually sought her out. I'm giving away some of my trade secrets. If you want something bad enough in life, you ask for it. And she could have said no, but she wanted to be on my show. And then she said, Nancy, the more I'm getting to know you, I really want you to meet Kirsten. I think she'd be great for your show, but I also sense, and there we talk about, activating your senses. I sense that I want to connect you with Kirsten, about Little Light Project. And I said, yes. So, we connected on the phone, and I will never forget. I was out in the backyard, because that's where I just feel more in my element with talking with someone. And when she started defining about Little Light Project, and that, she's a sensitive, intuitive child. I always knew my intuitiveness, that I very, very strong and feeling at a very early age. I can remember all that. But when she started to define what that is, and I went, wow. In fact, a very loose title for my upcoming book, which is still in its early stages, it's called Misunderstood. I felt that I was misunderstood as a child, and this is what's happening. She's created it for parents to help them raise sensitive, intuitive children, and also understanding why they are the way they are. Like, why is it that a certain beat of a song that goes the same thing will just go, I'll go like this, and other people, it doesn't bother them. It's that frequency that I'm operating at. My granddaughter is very much like me. In fact, my daughter will ask me, Mom, what is it about her that she just can get so overwhelmed? I said, it's too much. It's too much noise. So monitor that. Even putting socks on her feet. There's the line across the top of the toes. It would drive her crazy. They're texture children. That's been a term I've heard. What in the heck is that? So the understanding, when you understand these aspects of yourself, then you become more clear. Okay, now I get it. But then so for that part of it, I said I would love to be on board to help share your message, because it takes a village. Then also the grieving parent aspect of it, and she's got a very dynamic list of a group of people, from professional therapists to holistic healers, all to be there. And that's what we're striving to build it up. And addressing childhood sexual abuse, which unfortunately is rather rampant in society. And there again, that empath side of me, my heart aches for that.
Yeah, and when you started to tell me about all this, you actually made an introduction for me, because I was just so intrigued by what you were saying. And in fact, I too have come from a world of not understanding what it was that I was feeling. I am an empath. I have discovered now as I've gotten older, and I am intuitive. I always knew I was intuitive, and then I started seeing the same things with my son, who's now 29, and he was doing certain things as well. I would text him, and he would immediately think and actually be right that something was wrong, even though I had never actually said anything was wrong other than, "Hi, Rob, how are you? Let's get on the phone. I haven't talked to you in a while." And immediately he would go there, and in fact, there was a reason he went there. There was something else, and yet I didn't mention it. So there's that being intuitive and being an empath, and how it can make your life a little crazy, quite frankly.
It can. And so the saying is, knowledge is power, and once you have that understanding of what it means, what others are going through, they say we teach what we need to learn. I found out throughout the coaching practice that I have that I'm constantly learning. I'm learning from others, and I see a reflection of what they're going through and going, yes, this is very familiar to me. And I never question why people are coming to my life for whatever reason, even if it's a casual conversation, that there is always something to be learned. So being open to that, and then helping others. And in this case, I don't always use that word, helping others, but these are the people that come to the Little Light Project, because we're developing webinars, live events. They need answers. They need support, and that's what we're here to do.
So how do people find out more about the project? Is there a website we can send them to? I know we're in the middle of our interview, but while we're doing this, let's give them a link.
Yes, it's a www.littlelightproject.org.
Okay.
It is an official nonprofit, and there is a donation section to it, that if you're feeling your listeners are feeling the call to donate, even whatever you can, it all adds up to help us help others.
I think that's great. So we'll have a little link in the information below, www.littlelightproject.org, and go check it out and see what this is all about. I know I'm going to be getting involved after having a wonderful conversation with one of the individuals who was involved in this. And again, thanks because of this introduction that you have made for me. So let's back up just for a little bit. What do you tell people that come to you via either coaching, or that maybe you see them on social media, or they listen to you on your radio show, and they say, I've lost my passion, I've lost my way, I don't know what I'm supposed to do next. What's my next step? I'm feeling desperate, I'm feeling depressed. I mean, any number one of those things. I get those calls all the time. What do you tell people when they do that?
Well, if it came to me like that, I would say, just breathe. Let's get into your space of center, because there is that element of noise, and it's even more than ever. We have digital, like right here in my room, we're going through my computer, my TV's there. I don't have my cell phone next to me, which is kind of nice. It's all a lot of energy, a lot of input. So when I connect with someone who says, you know what, what I shared earlier about me, really, who am I? What is my purpose in life? Is to truly ask those questions. And so when we start working together, oftentimes I will begin with a vision board, because it is a very almost relaxing yet fun experience for them. And I said, just come in with an open heart and an open mind. You know, bring these pictures that you don't know why you chose them, because that's the key of it. This is your right brain right here. This is where we overthink. You know, or I've had clients, you know, say, I don't know why I picked it. I said, remember what I said? You have permission not to think. Just shut the noise. And so we bring forth time into an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, and then they go, wow, that's way too small. And I said, you just said you were overwhelmed. We're here to laser focus, to rediscover that GPS system within, which is also our intuition, our inner guide, that we have stopped listening to, that we're living in the I should be, or if I had done this, and all that language that, wow, I just get so exhausted. Let's just rip that up energetically and put it in this, you know, box right now, because it's not serving you.
Right.
Simplify and clarify your life so that you get a better visual of who you are, where you're going in life, and be open to receive. That is huge, because it's already there.
Right, it is. It is already there. So people want to work on a vision board. I mean, obviously they could connect with you, and you could walk them through that. I know that there are books out there, but you really believe in the vision board process. I do too. I don't use vision boards. I use vision cards. I do a slightly different thing because I'm constantly updating it. But again, can you give us a definition of what a vision board really is? So people that are listening and they hear this and they say, oh, that sounds kind of interesting, but what is a vision board exactly?
There again, it's a snapshot of truly what it is that's already been inside of you, but you just haven't been aware of it. You forgot, like I shared with you. I forgot that I was wanting to be in media. 6 years ago, I would have said crazy. That's just not possible. I didn't have the awareness of it. So as I started applying my visions without knowing why, things would start naturally appearing. We want to know that there is a path. We always talk about that. We're on a journey, we're on a path, and we get off that path, or we splinter and we don't know which way to go. What this starts doing is activating your senses, your awareness, your visual, your hearing. All of a sudden, what you may have started blocking out, you release those, headsets. And
would you agree it's like a living, breathing entity?
Yes. And like right now, I'm looking at mine right behind this computer screen. It's activated. And this one was created purely by inspiration, because I'm working on more of my spiritual self within my writing. I'm doing something called divine dialogue writing, which is very powerful. It's activating because I do energy work as well. So when you have your chakra system, which are really your energy meridians, if they're out of balance, so is everything else going to be. We need to bring our life back into balance. So what I can say for sure is that it's very rare that I can say that it's 100% success rate, in that I can actually see an uplift if they're coming in feeling and it depends. Sometimes it's either through their body I can tell, or they verbally will tell me that I'm just not really sure what's going on in my life. And I said, okay, let's just open up to the possibilities
Right.
And all of a sudden, they just start to feel, their shoulders get back up, and sometimes it's very crystal clear what they have forgotten, and then they get into action. So that being activated to it is by having it right in front of you. Now that we have smartphones and iPhones, you take a picture. I said, take a picture of it. Look at it. When you're traveling, you don't have to bring that piece of paper around. I used to actually take a snapshot and bring it to Kinko's and have a picture of my purse just to remind me. Because sometimes we can default, especially when you're starting to move forward. You're going to expect that I wrote a blog on green light, red light. Just when you're going, then boom, something will happen, and you may go back to that old pattern thinking. This is going to shift you in that positive. Remember how you felt when you created this. This is you.
Right. I hear you. And as I said, I alluded to I use cards. So what I'll do is every quarter I'll go out and get a card, and I will create in that card I am statements. I am so forth and so on, because our subconscious recognizes the present rather than the future or the past. It represents the present. So if you talk in the present, I am a highly successful, sought after motivational speaker, your brain says, oh, that must be what you are. And if your brain says, I am making X amount of dollars, or I am living in this particular house, and you visualize. So I actually create these cards, and then I mail them to myself, and I do them quarterly. So I have a selection of all of my my intentions, basically. Mm-hmm. And I'm able to track it, because it changes. I mean, it changes, right?
It just says every second of the day. Yeah, with 86,400 seconds in a day, that we're constantly changing. What I am also very much an advocate of affirmations, but you have to believe it. Right. Otherwise, it's just fluff. And be very intentional in that. And when you are, then you already own it, so to speak. That's my talk today. And someone did this for me. They asked me, Nancy, tell them what you do. And I said, well, I host my radio show on internet, blog talk radio. And by the time, she goes, nope, we're cutting it down because we want to define you better. Nancy, you are a radio personality. At that moment, I was sort of, well, am I? What qualifies that? But as I started to listen to it, I wrote it down. I started to
believe it.
Kind of like almost immerse into me. Yeah. Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
Oh, cool.
When you are, then what does that increase? Then our confidence.
Right.
And so there again, when we're talking about being vulnerable because of where we're at, and to think that at one point we were here and now we're over here, it's been that steady progression. We had that choice to go back down, but continuing, because there's so much to experience. And that's what activates me every day, is what's the next step, step. And sometimes we're on a landing for a little while. Things happen in life, and that's what I've learned, and that we are all human. We go through the same experience.
Exactly. I totally agree with you. One of the things that I am very fond of, and anyone who sees any of my social media knows that I like quotes. And I like quotes that are not always inspirational. Sometimes they're funny. Sometimes they make me chuckle. But basically, I like quotes because it kind of gets me focused for the day. Something to think about, something to think outside of myself, something bigger than me. Maybe it's something that a famous person wrote. Maybe it's something that a less than famous person wrote, a friend. But today's quote that I want to share with you, and then I'm going to ask you to share with us maybe a quote that touches your heart. Today's quote was by John Maxwell, and he writes, "A great leader's courage to fulfill his vision comes from passion, not position." What do you think about that?
I love it. And I have his book. It was right there. It might be here. My books they travel through the night. It's kind of like the Nutcracker. And they show up where they need to. But yes, I was highlighting his book about what was the title? How to be successful, something of that nature. But he's very much into creative thinking and the big picture of life and being very passionate with that vision. And our most modern visionaries are Steve Jobs and Walt Disney. I mean, prime examples of stepping into your vision and believing in it so strongly that it's going to actualize itself. Truly. I love that. Because you can't take someone's passion away, and that's why I also talk a lot about values. If you put 10 values down, and I tell you take out 5, and go, what? I can't do that, and then go and you've got 1 left. Everything kind of defaults under it.
Right.
And if someone tried to take that away, if someone tried to take away my integrity, I would jump off of this house to go get it back. No, you're not taking that away from me. And so then you become to be even more clear about what you're all about.
Yeah, I understand that. It makes a lot of sense. I have one more question for you, and this is kind of a fun question. If you could spread passion dust anywhere around the world, on anyone around the world, who would you spread it on, and what would you hope to accomplish?
I actually do that every day because I interviewed, and I can't remember who shared that with me, because there's such a need for love and passion. Those 2 words are, they're like this to me, and I know that it will land exactly where it needs to be. But where I'm passionate about, I could say the world, but for right now in this conversation is for women to truly embrace who you are, that you don't need to measure up to anyone else. Really be in that space of love, self-love, because that's the greatest gift you can give yourself. And it, as I shared with you earlier, it pains me to see someone that's been so broken down, but yet I can see that light. And I know that once they can get to that light, magic happens. So that's what I send with love and light.
I love that. I love that. And I know that you have a free something, a complimentary gift that you want to give to any of our listeners that are interested in receiving. It's absolutely complimentary, and it's called Discover the Essence of You. It's an audio MP3, and you just would like to be able to have people have this, and the way they can get that is they can email you at nancy@nancyferrari.com, nancy@nancyferrari.com, and you'll receive, first of all, you'll get an email to Nancy, and I know she'll respond to you, and you'll get a copy of Discover the Essence of You. It's an MP3 audio, and I love these kind of things because I put them on my smartphone, and I always have something to listen to, and I don't think I've actually have this one, so I'm going to be emailing you as well, Nancy, because I want to get a copy of this as well. Any last thoughts that you'd like to share with our audience, and let them know, how they can reach you, or just some last thoughts?
Well, it truly has been a divine pleasure to spend time with you, and just knowing that our messages collectively that we share are being heard is so important. And with that said, I encourage everyone to also find their voice, because as I heard Mary, and I had the distinct pleasure of interviewing Marianne Williamson for a small 10 minutes, but she said there have been women throughout the centuries who have sacrificed their lives for their voice to be heard, pioneers that have been before us who are still with us, but yet we remain silent. Get rid of the invisible shackles. You have so much to share. You have the brilliance within you, and cast away the fears of judgment, being ostracized. Be in your power, because I know everyone has something. You matter. That's what there was something that triggered me, and I think this is going to surprise you, that there was a trigger during an interview and she's the founder of, it's called Your Soul Story, and she does some pretty in-depth work. And that it came up that I believed that I was nobody until I became somebody. And that was, it still, see how my voice came down? Because I lost my power just even thinking about it. And I've done the work to release it. But really, they're just words. It's an old story. We were all put on this earth because we are somebody, and we're somebody special. So never forget that, truly.
Nancy, thank you. Those truer words have never been said by somebody so powerful as you, and I really appreciate what you have to share with us and who you are as an individual, and I know that our listeners are going to gain so much by getting to know you. So I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart to sharing your very, very busy day. I know you were very, very busy to come on to the Passion Point today and to share your vision and your thoughts and your life hopes with all of our listeners. And a message to our listeners: we know that you have many, many choices as to how you spend your time, and both of us are so appreciative that you decided to spend your time with us today. And so, as we say every single week, we look forward to hearing you and seeing you back on the next show of the Passion Point very, very soon. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.